5 Wilderness Peak. I'm a resident of Issaquah. Am I close enough to the mic? I am really uncomfortable speaking in public in front of people, so I'm going to keep it short. These gentlemen really pretty much, they put it very well. We've watched this process unfold, or backtracked and seen how it unfolded out of our sight, and all of a sudden started one day with saws that we never knew were coming, and frankly it was really surprising to us. Over the last couple of months we've backtracked through and seen how the process unfolded, and it doesn't appear to be a fair process. It doesn't appear to follow the requirements of the development agreement or any of the government documents or the Issaquah Municipal Code. And well, we really welcome the opportunity to discuss this further with City Council if anyone wants to. And I really want to thank you all for the opportunity to talk today. Thank you very much.
George, thank you very, very much for coming and speaking this evening. Is there anyone else signed up to speak? Is there anyone else in the audience desiring to speak? Anyone else desiring to speak? Third and final call. Anyone else desiring to speak? Seeing none, then audience comments are closed, and we'll move now to committee and regional reports. Councilmember Milligan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to share with my fellow council members and the community and our audience a little of the latest from Cascade Water Alliance. Big things happen slowly there, and so I didn't know when to share what, but just recently some of the latest paperwork on the water right has been completed with the state of Washington, and this is significant because it's an over 100-year-old water right that the precursor to Puget Sound Energy had negotiated way back then for a hydroelectric plant. In renegotiating it, what is significant, and I think that we in Issaquah would appreciate the most, is that half of the water right is being permanently deeded back to the White River, and this is very important for salmon and salmon health and other habitat. So that's a very exciting culmination of many years and months of planning and a lot of people's efforts. I just serve as an alternate, but Mayor Butler has been on this board for a long time and has watched this progress. It's an exciting accomplishment. And one more thing was that this year a quite monumental and historic event is happening for the sake of repairing Lake Taps, which Cascade Water Alliance bought from Puget Sound. I keep getting all the Puget Power names mixed up in my head because of all the different names they've had. The lake will be drawn down to historic levels, very low, almost looking like the 4 lakes that the lake originated in. And this is for repairing things, and again, moving from the hydroelectric service that the lake provided for so many years, and now into water supply for us and the other communities in the Cascade Water Alliance. So things are moving ahead, and everything that they had hoped to accomplish for our region are thankfully coming to fruition. I just want to share that with you.
Thank you, Councilmember Pauling.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. There is a meeting on Wednesday, July 23rd of the King Conservation District Advisory Committee from 12:30 to 3 at the Bellevue Library. Looking again and cleaning up a final version of the work program that they are going to submit. They do a
So really good all-day meeting and very worthwhile endeavor on the part of the partnership board. We're currently discussing in ETP leadership whether we're going to have an August meeting to capture some of the energy from that retreat, or if we're going to hold that over till September, just given summer vacation issues and so forth. Secondly, the Council Infrastructure Committee met last Thursday, and that was quite possibly our longest meeting ever of that committee. 8:30, something like that. We got almost 9 o'clock, I think we got out of there. Yeah, landed shore, they're saying A. So on the agenda, We had Agenda Bill 6843 relating to our food packaging ordinance, and the committee deferred that back to our August committee meeting. We had some information from staff about the number of businesses currently in compliance with the ordinance, and the note that I made was we had 55 in full compliance at the last check and 77 with something less than full compliance. Styrofoam has really been eradicated for the most part, but we're looking at things like waste collection, we're looking at diversion, proper signage, etc. And so, we had less than 50%, and we talked about the difficulty of funding it in this budget year, but the committee was very interested in seeing if we could put some staff time and a smaller amount of funding towards efforts in 2014 with the full site visit funding slated for the 2015 budget. And so the three of us unanimously recommended holding it over to next month for some more information on that. We also had Agenda Bill 6856, the Issaquah Highlands Shared Stormwater Agreement, which is a changeover to the IHCA. There was some concern expressed by Councilmember Milligan about reciprocal indemnity and the association perhaps not being indemnified. The committee ultimately approved that to go to the September council meeting on consent, but Councilmember Milligan will research the indemnity issue and may bring it down if further information is warranted. We had a very lengthy discussion, an informational item on the Costco development agreement that's being proposed. That is on tonight's consent calendar. The consent calendar does indicate that it's going to the Land and Shore Committee, but it's also my understanding that it will be coming back to the Infrastructure Committee as well. The formal referral is not included in tonight's bill, but that was what we were told, so we're planning on that for the August infrastructure meeting as well. We were joined by a vice president of Costco, and there was a presentation about some of the items that we'll be expecting to look at in August and beyond, some of the urgency of the time of getting this done. But the committee already had a number of questions on this potential agreement relating to the central area plan, relating to traffic issues, housing issues, connection type issues. So I'm sure this will end up being quite a discussion in both our respective committees as this moves forward. And then we also had a very, very lengthy discussion on traffic concurrency, picking up where we left off at our work session. And in the interest of time, I won't go into all the details, but I could probably spend a good half hour just recapping what we discussed at the infrastructure meeting. We focused primarily on the two questions that were presented at the work session, A, mode split, and B, level of service. And, ultimately, I think where we kind of centered around is Model Run 3 had a lot of good things in it. There was a lot of discussion towards the end about the central area plan and sort of slower traffic through the central core, making it more pedestrian friendly. We had some really good citizen comments on a number of those issues. So there was a lot of feedback, and I'm happy offline to speak with anyone individually about what the committee discussed, but it was a very lengthy, comprehensive discussion. And then we had some project updates as well. So again, quite a robust infrastructure committee meeting this month, and we'll pick it back up in August. That concludes my reports.
Thank you. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Mayor. Services and Safety will be meeting August 7th at 5 p.m. in the Eagle Room. Our agenda has not been finalized at this time, so if you are interested, please just keep checking onto the city website. And Eastside Fire and Rescue did not have a board meeting this month, so that would be the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Goodman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since Councilmember Martz is not here tonight, I would just remind that Land and Shore meets on August 12th at 6 p.m., and I'm not sure what's on the agenda, but we will be here, probably concurrency for one. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Winterstein.
Thank you. This Thursday, July 24th, there's a meeting of the Joint Recommendations Committee at 9:30 a.m. at the King County Airport, meaning you must travel west from here to get there. You might leave early. The only item of action on the agenda, it's a packed agenda, but the JRC will be planning on taking action on a federal legislative agenda. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Martz is excused this evening. There will not be an executive session meeting this evening. Please join us for free food, giveaways, music, and tips on everything from emergency preparedness to home security products at Issaquah's annual National Night Out celebration with the Issaquah Police Department at 5 p.m. Tuesday, August the 5th on the steps of City Hall. Using voter-approved park bond funds, we're renovating playgrounds at Gibson and Muirwood Parks this summer. Before we proceed, however, we're asking the community to help us select the best designs. Community members can vote for their favorite designs via our website, pin their favorite on Pinterest. Did I pronounce that right? Wow, that surprises me. Or attend an upcoming meeting. A tourism development expert, Roger Brooks, will present the details of the Issaquah Tourism Development Plan from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., July 29th at Tibbetts Creek Manor. The event is free and open to the public. RSVPs are strongly encouraged and space is limited to the first 80 registrants. To register, visit IssaquahChamber.org. Our annual Chalk Art Fest will be held from noon to 5 p.m. Tuesday, July 29th at the Issaquah Community Center. This free event is open to artists of all ages. Chalk, snacks, and water will be provided, and the top artist in each age group will receive prizes. The celebration continues that evening with a concert on the green. Join us for a free production of Two Gentlemen of Verona as Shakespeare on the Green returns at 7 p.m. Thursday, July 31st. To learn more, visit our website at issaquahwa.gov/arts. And finally, Art Walk continues Friday, August the 1st in historic downtown Issaquah. Head outside to see artists at work, listen to live music, and explore downtown businesses. A monthly event starts at 8 p.m. And with that, that concludes the mayor's report. Moving now to our consent calendar. Have the accounts payable and payroll been reviewed?
They have.
Yes, they have.
Okay, and what is your pleasure on the consent calendar? Council President Winterstein.
I move that we approve the consent calendar as proposed.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the consent calendar is approved unanimously. Moving now to our one and only item under regular business, Agenda Bill 6864, update to the 2013-14 City Council goals. This is coming to the council from the administration. I would just provide a very short introduction before the presentation by our communications director, Autumn Monahan. During the May 17, 2014 City Council goal-setting retreat, the City Council requested that administration review the 2013-14 city goals, provide an update on each goal, and make recommendations on whether the goal should be continued, be removed, or is completed. We will go through shortly an attached summary which provides an update of each goal along with the administration's recommendation. Forms that detail action items and a time frame are included for each of the goals that is recommended for continuation. Let me just say briefly that there were 26 goals that were reviewed. You'll see that 6 of those have been completed. 11 are recommended to continue and are in progress. And there's a recommendation to remove 9 from the list. 2 of those are unfunded, the fireworks and city campus. 3 are essentially complete, and Others would be integrated into our ongoing work. And with that, I'll turn it over to our communications manager, Autumn Monahan. Autumn, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. So as Fred mentioned, my name is Autumn Monahan. I'm the city's communications manager, and I'm here to kick off the discussion tonight on our 2013 and 14 goals. As Fred mentioned, and I'm sure you all remember, we had a retreat just back in May, and it was a very full day, and we came out with 5 new goals for 2015. The City Council asked administration to come back with recommendations on the previous goals from 2013 and 14. So our senior leadership team met several times, reviewed all of the goals, and I spearheaded the process to package them for you tonight for discussion. And we've categorized them into 3 categories, so continuing the goal, completing the goal, or removing it from the list. So for our continued goals, you'll see in your packet, each goal now includes a description, action items, a timeline, and an estimated budget. And this is the same form we used for the 2015 goals. This makes sure we are very clear on expectations and deliverables and on timelines, keeps us accountable, and it makes it very clear with everyone what the goals are. As you will see when you look through the goals that are continuing, most of them are either ongoing, and a fair amount of them, as the Mayor mentioned, will be completed in 2015. As far as completed goals, those are kind of in 2 categories. One is we will just work to continue on some goals. So some of them are incorporated into our work plan. That includes things like televising the budget sessions. So we're proposing removing some of those goals from the list just because it's something that we'll now continue doing. There are other goals that are done, and that includes things like the Kahani Potential Annexation Area Study. And then there's goals we propose removing from the list. And our senior leadership team asked ourselves a series of questions in deciding what items should be included in that list. So is this already included in our work plan, or are portions of it included in the work plan, or the work we're already doing? Is this goal unfunded? Do we have the resources both with staff and in budget? Can we combine this with other goals, since we have new goals for 2015? And the most important, is this a clear goal with milestones? And it's important to mention tonight, if there's some goals on the list that we've proposed dropping, that you'd like to see continue, the next step is to provide us some more information so that we can clearly fill out that form, so that we know a description, we know a timeline, we have action items, and we can work on a proposed budget for you on those items. So my presentation is very short tonight to give you guys time to talk through those goals, but we're here to answer any questions.
And so with that, questions or discussion? Council Member Wickerstadt.
Thank you. So thank you for that presentation, and also thanks to the administration, your senior leadership team for putting together the packet and the format. I appreciate the time. And could you actually go back to your criteria slide? That was really helpful. Yeah, so I mean, just this level of structure and thought and put it into the process, I really do appreciate it, and getting it in a standardized form is very helpful as well. You know, and I think this is the first time we're seeing this packet as far as a council. We haven't seen it in committee or in front of the full committee before, and yeah, I appreciate your last comment too there, Autumn, about if we have some questions about any one of these, especially those that might be proposed to be removed, that maybe we spend a little bit of time and work on clarity. And for the benefit of my colleagues on the council, that's kind of where I am. There's a number on the list that are proposed to be no longer tracked, which I feel need a little bit more in-depth discussion. And we can have that tonight. I'll bring others. There's actually 2 in particular. I know that Councilmember Goodman has another one in question as well. Mine in particular have to do with the healthy community strategy, and the other one has to do with it's titled in the packet, the neighborhood engagement plan, I think, but the original title was neighborhood councils. I'll get that exact title. And so when I went back and looked at the original material that we as a council looked at in that particular goal, the one now titled neighborhood engagement, I see a gap between the original proposal and I think the words in which the council acted upon when it chose that goal and the way it's characterized in the packet.
And so, great, so now we got a starting point. We have an understanding, at least to me, I have an understanding of kind of a difference of perspective. Maybe it was clarity, maybe it was other issues, and I don't know that you would be prepared this evening to speak to a particular goal or not. So so I'm kind of stopping right there. I wanted to throw out to the council, because I'm not making a motion as it's currently written right now. The idea of having a conversation about maybe taking this packet as a good starting point and perhaps moving it to a committee for a chance for specific ones that anybody has questions upon. We can get staff involved to come and address some of our questions or answers. So that's kind of an open-ended thought right now, because we haven't done this process before in terms of seeing it for the first time in front of regular business, as opposed to any type of work session to work on it and refine it. So I'm not really at this point prepared to take action up or down as it's proposed. So I'm just curious, unless someone else wants to make a motion as proposed in the packet, then we can discuss the packet itself. But I'm open to another procedure, still aiming to get, I don't think there's a difference between our objectives. I think the idea of like, what are the goals, and are they clear, and is it really on the work plan? Is this council, as we understand those goals, do we feel like we have a clear understanding with administration on the status and going forward? I think everybody wants that. There's no doubt about that. So I'll kind of end my comments there, and hopefully others.
Councilmember Pauly.
Sure. I agree, Paul, with what you're saying. I feel like there's a missing conversation. I think the work that the staff put into it is great, and I love the presentation again, and the summary spreadsheet, the categories, and then the work plans after, I think, or an outline of a work plan. I think that's great. But I feel like we haven't had enough time to talk about it, and I'm not sure we'll end up in an entirely different place, but I see one or two things maybe moving around, or maybe not, depending on what that conversation says. So I'm on board with referring it to a workshop or a committee or something. And I don't think it's going to be a long conversation. I just think we need to have that conversation.
Councilmember Milken.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question for Autumn. So just to clarify, and you may have sort of said this, but I want to hear it a little more directly. On the remove from list, there are a few that the timeline is ongoing, which is very similar to the ongoing timeline of those that are called continue goal. And so why, just help me understand why some of the ongoings turn into remove from list and some of them stay up on top.
While some of these goals aren't 100% clear on the remove from list category, there are some elements that we believe we're doing as part of our everyday work plan. So they're ongoing in the sense that we are continuing those things.
Okay. We could change the word, though. Instead of ongoing, it could say in progress or incorporated or something different.
Mm-hmm. That seems very similar to some of the ones that are continued.
Okay.
It's just an observation.
Okay.
And we can come back to that again. I bring that up just to get a little more information from you, and then agree with Councilmember Pauly and Winterstein about looking forward to having more conversation rather than voting on it today. It might be difficult to divvy these up to committees. I don't know what our work study or work session schedule is like. It's already full, but I might prefer that if that were possible, and then if not, we could, I suppose, somebody could divvy them up for us to our committees. So thanks a lot.
Councilmember Goodman.
I'd support the idea of referring this either to a committee or a work session. I would be comfortable referring it to, say, services, if Barbara was interested in that. But that doesn't have everybody at that committee. So I'm not sure everybody's comfortable with that, but I'd be comfortable with either one.
So what I'm here, Councilmember Scher.
I was just waiting for a lull. So I do agree that I think it'll be a relatively short conversation. And I just want to share a few thoughts, because coming into this, if there was a motion on the floor to adopt this, I was really hesitant to adopt this as written. You know, let me start off by saying first, I really also like the format of this, and I really appreciate the work that the administration and staff put into the grid here, and analyzing each of these goals and giving us an update, telling us where we're at. And this is a long way and a far cry from what I used to refer to as patting ourselves on the back at council retreats every year, and, you know, well, we accomplished this, great job. And you know, I would always think, well, I was there, I know what we did. You know, this is a great way of telling us where we've done things, where we can still improve on things, what we still need to do. So that analysis is good. You know, as I look at the goals, 2013 goals under the continue goal list, there's a lot of these that I think are at some point here in the next couple of years, or maybe even sooner, going to start falling off. And so it's good that we've made that progress to the point where in just 2 short years, we've not only completed a number of goals, which are predominantly 5 out of 6 2013 goals, but that the ones that are still on the continue list, really good progress is being made. You know, we've got the skate park completion by spring 2015, so that one should be coming off the list. You know, strategy for Route 200 928. I'm going to hope that we have something figured out in the next year for that. So, you know, there are a number of these, and then you start shrinking it down. And so as the 2013 ones fall off, and maybe only have 1 or 2, then there's some 2014 ones, and you start phasing them out. And so this looks to me like we're right on target, but I'll tell you where the problem lies in my mind, and I think where the conversation will ultimately focus is the remove from list. And a couple were mentioned earlier. You know, the neighborhood engagement plan. I'm glad you brought that up because I remember that was your goal. Apparently the way to get them passed is just not to be at the meeting when we adopt them. I should learn that. But, you know, I liked that goal. And I was really disappointed to see it on the remove from list because, let me mention the second one, which is the feasibility study of an Issaquah City campus. You know, I don't remember if at the time I had enough dots or chads to vote for that, but I've come to realize the importance of that goal because we are fragmented. And, you know, we've got operations here at City Hall. We've got some departments at City Hall Northwest. And we're just kind of all over the map. And as our city grows, I can't imagine the administration would disagree with this, but we need to find a way to really be more efficient and unify our city services. And, you know, all this is calling for is a feasibility study. It's not saying go out there and spend millions of dollars to actually build a new city hall. It's looking at siting. It's looking at feasibility. And, you know, there is a dollar amount. It's $50,000 listed here in this grid. So, you know, you've got the money. You know, the timing element of it, well, I guess you can tell us how long it would take to get something like that done. But what bothered me is the council gave direction on a couple of these things as a goal, and it bothered me to see them simply drop from the list because they were goals. And whether we all agreed with them 7-0 or not, that was the will of the council. And to just come back and say, well, it's unfunded, that didn't sit well with me because my feeling is if we say it's a goal, then there should be some way to find funding for it. Unless, you know, we're asking for something totally unrealistic or unreasonable. And, you know, we all recognize the fireworks in July 2013. Well, that ship sailed and it just wasn't feasible and we couldn't do it. That's categorically different than a neighborhood engagement plan or a feasibility study for a city campus. So, you know, those particular items bothered me that they were on the remove from list because this body gave direction for those to somehow be funded. And it's really a question of prioritization and a limited pot of money and where did the funds come from, and we give you the guidance and hopefully you'll find the way to make it funded. But I would like to see those put on the continue list and find a way to take some step in furtherance of some of those goals. Other ones I recognize, they're consolidated with others or they're ongoing part of our work plan already. But there were just a few that definitely bothered me on the remove from list. So hopefully we can have this come back. You know, our next work session's not until September, so then it starts putting it off and then we start getting close to budget, and I'm not sure what the right answer is. I agree with the comment that if it goes to just one committee, it's half the council, less than half the council, and so then what about the people who aren't on that committee? Maybe we just have it go to 2 committees, and then we've hit at least 6 of the 7 of us in that sense. So I commend it to you to figure that out. I don't have an answer, but just some thoughts.
Councilmember Barber.
Just a quick comment. I also had some concerns in regards to a couple of the items that were on the remove from list. And I think the idea of taking this back, whether it's to committee or a work study session, is a great idea. And you have hit exactly a couple of them in regards to the feasibility for the city campus was one of them. So I would be, comfortable with either work study session or one of the committees. So we just need to have this.
Council President Winterstein.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion so that we can discuss the outcome, which way to go. I'm going to make a motion that we refer Agenda Bill 6864 to the August Services and Safety Committee.
Been moved and seconded. Additional discussion. Councilmember Winterstein.
And so the discussion, we've been focusing a little bit on what's on the removed list. And my interpretation of the removed list was we weren't going to be reporting on it anymore. It doesn't necessarily mean that nothing's going on in some of those cases. And so I made a request for some additional information today, and I realized, as the original goal was written and the intent, at least for the particular one I asked about that I was involved with, and then what came back as kind of already incorporated with the work plan, I saw a gap there between what I thought we were supposed to do and what that is. And so I would think that the purpose for at the committee meeting was just to have a conversation about that and see, and then so that'd be an example. So it's really just so we still have a gap, so we can have that conversation. And the reason I'm proposing to the committee is that the committee can make a recommendation back, and the recommendation back could be forward it to another committee so others can see it, or we could have a comprehensive recommendation on all of them on there, and then the council would have at least three sets of eyes, looking at it and making a recommendation on the entire packet. That has the potential of being the most expedient way and taking care of it, and I think there's potential for it being successful that way. So that's why that's what was my thinking. And also, as far as I can tell, we only have one thing on the agenda for August, and so maybe there's room. so anyway, those are my comments behind my motion.
Just a process question then, Paul. If it's going to just the Safety and Services Committee, and there are council members who have strong opinions on a couple items, how do they get that information incorporated in that process?
I don't think there would be any harm at all for letting the committee know about your concerns so that we can address them in committee. I'm thinking more about expediency than anything. We don't have to wait toward expediency, but it is the summertime and it's just about wrapped up. A lot of the work is already done. But that was, you absolutely can bring that and make sure that it's an item of discussion. It can be forwarded to the administration so that they can come forward with a response to discuss with the committee as well.
And so, if I understand the motion, it's to refer Agenda Bill 6864 to the August Service and Safety Committee with a report back to the council at the September work session or a meeting, or how do you, or is it open-ended and depending on the discussion in the committee?
At this point, my intent would be it would be open-ended and allow the committee to make a recommendation. And if the council is also comfortable, committee chair Barber is with us in leadership on Wednesday, and we can discuss a little bit further then as well.
Okay. Other questions or discussion on the motion? Councilmember Scheer.
Thank you. I don't remember who all is on that committee or not. I guess you raise your hand if you're not on services and safety. Okay. So there's three of us, and is Tola on that committee? No. So there's four. Okay. So I think Paul's comment is correct. We can go. We have a committee chair for that very sort of reason, if issues are to be discussed amongst the committee and decide on the agenda. I'm comfortable with the referral, even though I'm not on the committee. It sounded like from the comments that were made that the two items I brought up specifically, we had some shared thoughts on those. So, it sounds like that'll definitely get some consideration and some airtime in the committee, at least on those two items. I think just one thing about, the comment that was made, I think, Paul, you made the comment about things in the work plan and so forth. And I don't have as much of a concern. I mean, if something's in the work plan, it's in the work plan, and that'll just get incorporated into the work that gets done. My issue was really on the things that say unfunded, that we literally could find no way to fund something that was a council goal. And that particular piece just didn't sit well with me. But there's other issues too, like you said about the neighborhood engagement plan. Maybe it's not quite what was originally intended through the goal, the way that it's being presented here. So one thing that could be helpful would be, and I don't know if you would take it on or if staff could give you the information, but I don't know if it's just a matter of getting a copy of what those goals originally were, like the packet as it was put together for that previous year's retreat, so we can make sure that the goals are what the goals were.
I can forward it to you.
Councilmember Barber.
And I think that would be a great piece to add, so that we do have, because there was a couple in here I'm looking at that are on the remove list that I know that I was the writer of, and it's like, this isn't quite what was the original intent of it, at least in my interpretation. And always, any time that there's an item that comes in before any of our committees, it's welcomed and encouraged that if you're not sitting on that committee, that you have the opportunity to call, send an email, or whatever it is that you would like to express your thoughts on. So hopefully we will be getting and receiving as much information as you'd like to share. So look forward to working on this if it passes.
Other questions or discussion? Are you ready to vote on the motion to refer Agenda Bill 6864 to the August Services and Safety Committee for discussion, review, and recommendation? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, that motion carries unanimously. As I stated before, there is no executive session this evening. Is there anything for good of the order? Good. Councilmember Barber.
I would like to share with an email that was received by Fish from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation Awards notification. It says, Dear Jane, we are pleased to advise you that the Board of Directors of the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation has approved an award of $31,614 to the Friends of Issaquah Salmon Hatchery to support the Lake Sammamish-Kokanee, a model urban stewardship project. These funds and their matching funds, which will be contributed and raised by Friends of Issaquah Salmon Hatchery. So this now gives us the opportunity to begin to move forward with the urban wildlife plan. So it was wonderful news we've been waiting for quite some time, and we'll be able to work more on the kokanee again. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for good of the order this evening? Seeing no.
I'm sorry, was too slow. Sorry.
Councilmember Whitterstaff.
I happen to be, I work in Redmond, and I happen to be real briefly at the Redmond City Hall today, and I saw Jason Rogers, and he said hello.
Okay.
Just want to pass that on. Jason is former city employee who took a new opportunity at Redmond. Anyway, just passing it along.
Thank you, and we are adjourned at 7:55.